Sullivan. I'm a former IRS agent and teaching instructor. Welcome to my YouTube station. My suits and ties are actually at my office. When I'm home, I just fire away everything on my YouTube station. I'm more relaxed. I don't need really a coat and tie and all the books behind me. I'm a national expert. I've been doing this for 50 years. If you don't believe me, go on my website. You'll see all my interviews on national television. I have been interviewed many times, probably 5 times in the last 3 months. I have a whole team of former IRS agents. They're great, they're excellent, and you can see them at 777irs.com. You're not going to see me with a suit and tie unless I'm on television, a wedding, or a funeral. That's it for me. So anyway, I do these videos for 3 reasons so you don't get ripped off. I give you good insider information, and today you're getting insider information. And I like to educate you. Many people, to be honest with you, are on YouTube and they're reading scripts and they want to believe they're this person and that person. Let me tell you, if you're not a former IRS agent who haven't worked thousands of cases, you don't really understand the process, because these people work cases and they learn from this case and learn from that case, and that's all great. But when you've been doing this for 50 years, I do have an advantage, just letting you know. So anyway, I'm going to tell you about how IRS is going to work your case. You have to know if you owe IRS tax debt, how the service center is going to work your case, and their revenue officer. By the way, they're going to work your case completely different, but I'm going to tell you both. So if your case is at the service center at the 1-800 number, they're not really as proficient, only because their job does not allow them, and it's not their fault. Basically, they're going to want a 433F financial statement. You should download it and be familiar with it, because they are going to go ahead and judge you on your 433F. That's financial statements. So they're going to want proof. They may want a bank statement and a pay stub, and then they're going to make a determination on your case. Generally, there's 2 decisions they'll make. They'll either put you into currently non-collectible. What does currently non-collectible mean? It means that right now they made a determination you cannot pay IRS. They'll suspend your case for a couple years and they'll kick it back out in the field. In the meantime, you better be current, you better file all your returns. So that's the service center. That's the 1-800 number, just so you know. Now, for the revenue officer, I was a revenue officer. If you got a revenue officer on your case, honestly, you may want to hire someone unless the revenue officer is just going to do a deep dive and a deep dig. That's what I used to do. So the reason I tell you to hire someone, usually when a revenue officer is speaking to another revenue officer who's retired, they really can't get away with anything. You know what they're going to do. You know what they think. So you can cut them off at different passes, and that's really why they're successful. But let's pretend you want to do this by yourself, which you can. Let me just tell you what to expect. The IRS revenue officer is going to go ahead and give you a 433A or B, depending on whether no matter what. If you're an individual, they want the 433A. If you have a business, they're going to want the 433A and the 433B. They're going to look at that, and they want to look at ways that they can collect the money. The first couple things they're going to do is they're going to look at your assets and what liquidation values could be if you sell them, and then they're going to look and they're going to see where your income and expenses are to see if you're spending money that they shouldn't. Now, what a revenue officer will do, they're very slick when they look at your last 6 months bank statements, which they will. And by the way, the revenue officer is going to give you a doc request. They're going to give you a form 9297, and they're going to have a whole list of things for you to go ahead and give them, because they've done some due diligence on you, and they're going to say, I want this, I want that. Sometimes they're 2 pages long. Sometimes there's 8 things, 5 things on there. It depends on the revenue officer. and how they work the case. Let me give you, for instance, how the IRS, this phone is driving me nuts. There it is. It's shut off. You're not going to hear the dinger again. Let me tell you exactly, as a revenue officer, what I would do when I'm examining your checks. I want to see where you're spending your money. IRS has what's called a national standard expense that they say this is what you should be spending. You should look at my YouTube videos for the national standard expenses. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at all your checks. You have are you running a storage unit? One time I found 3 muscle cars in storage units. What are you paying for? Is there a credit card you haven't reported that you're writing a check, or you have a debit to a credit card company? I'm looking for things that are not on that financial statement. I'm looking at oddball things to see where your money is, to see if there's a trail of assets that I can find. Just for instance, like the warehouse, like the credit card. I'm looking at things that don't make sense. If money should have gone to Internal Revenue Service and you're spending it for yourself, the RO is going to discover that. So that's why when a revenue officer comes out, you've got to be a lot tighter. So what you want to do is you want to embrace the revenue officer. You want to keep the dates that the revenue officer set. That's very important. And you want to make sure you feel your 433A, that's your personal financial statement, and your 433B are up to date with all the documentation. Lastly, and most importantly, you have to have an exit strategy on how you're going to go ahead and pay the debt. That's really important because this revenue officer has one job, and that's to close your case. They have to close it by either putting you into currently non-collectible or a payment, or they may say go file an offer and compromise. If an RO says you're an offer and compromise candidate, you pretty much are. Anyway, we have a whole team of former IRS agents. I try to give you the truth. Leave me comments. I will answer them. You want representation, you'll speak to me directly. If you want, please give me a subscription. Why? YouTube thrives on us getting subscriptions, so I'd really appreciate if you would do this. I try to give you good information. Ask me a question. You want me to do a YouTube on something, fire it up there. Have a good one. Be blessed. Thank you for the subscription.